Praise the Lord. So I was your typical church kid growing up. I was in Sunday school. We had Wednesday night church, Sunday night church. We were pretty much there all the time. And then there was this moment that happened when I was 16 years old. And our family was at a Christian concert. It was actually in Trenton High School's auditorium. We were just kind of sitting there and, receiving the music and worshiping along. And there just came this moment where there was just a wash over the room, and I felt the presence of God for probably the first time in my life in such a real way. And for the first time, almost audibly hearing his voice call out and say, "Who will go for me into this generation and bear my name?" And I kind of slid down in my seat. My grandfather was a pastor. I know what ministry means. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't know about that. I'm just a kid. I'm still in high school. I'm still figuring out exactly what I'm going to do. And then the more I looked around the room, the more it just felt like I was the only person in it. And it was just God looking at me. And in my heart, handshaking, I said, "Send me. I'll go. I'll do it. You're going to have to hold my hand. You're going to have to tell me what this means for my life, or who you want me to talk to, or where I'm supposed to go. But I'll go. If you tell me where, I'll go." And I've been in ministry, all kinds of different forms ever since, all kinds of different hats. And I have seen the miracles that happen when just one person says, "I'll go. Send me." Though you might think you are the last person he'd ever pick to do anything, one person at a time. When you speak the name of Jesus, transformation, radical transformation happens. And because of that, yes, I got to be in the water just now with Christine, somebody who just said yes to Jesus. And I'm telling you what, just wait, 20 years from now, just watch. We're gonna hear her story. We've been going through this series called Upside Down. Based upon kind of coming out of Easter, we're talking about the way that Jesus radically reversed death and what it means for the Christian, for the follower who believes him. And in Acts 17, these guys, the apostles who followed him, were accused of turning the world upside down because they were proclaiming a new king, Jesus. And when we do that, when we bring the name of Jesus, miracles happen. What these guys were doing, they were casting out demons. They were healing people. They were bringing the authority of the living God on earth as it is in heaven. And when we walk in that, when we say, "Lord, send me," and we go, we get to turn the world upside down, one situation at a time. Suddenly the poor are the people that are called blessed. Suddenly the weakest are the strong. Suddenly everything is turned upside down because the glory of God has entered the scene. And that just starts with one person saying yes. And there was a moment when a young woman named Mary Kamau, she was 20 years old, and she entered the Mathari Valley, the slums that you saw in some of the videos earlier. And she looked around and she said, "Who is going to do something about this?" And the Lord asked her, "Will you?" And she said, "I will." And she kept a 20-year-old girl in those slums revisiting and praying and asking God what she could do. And eventually that became, in the year 2000, a school of 50 children that turned into Missions of Hope International. It's an incredible story that's now having a global impact and that is changing the nation of Kenya because of that one yes. And how many of you were here when we had the Kamaus here last year? Okay, so you've heard the incredible story in person. So good. We don't have them here with us this morning, but by a total just God appointment, we do have someone special here who's been alongside Mohi for a very long time. My friend, Pastor Ben Kacharis, he is from the Baltimore area. He pastors a church called Mountain Christian Church, who has been alongside Mohi for a very long time. And he's gonna come and talk to us for a little bit today. Would you come up here, Ben? Would you guys all make him welcome? So if you would just kind of give a little background as to how your church got involved with Missions of Hope in those early years?
Yeah, first, it's fun to be at Daily Church. I've loved this church for several years, and you guys are amazing. So it's fun to be in the area and get to be here with you, especially because we have this cool thing that we get to do together called Missions of Hope. Yep. So you told the story of Mary, this, who started this thing, and by the time we connected with her, it was about 2006. And they had grown that little place you mentioned of 50 students to 200. And it was just like how this was happening was amazing. This school.
So they did that in 6 years. 2000.
They did it, yes.
It had 50, and then by 2006, they had 200.
Which we thought at the time was just like amazing.
Yeah.
And was amazing. So our church really felt like we were being called to do something more, and it was Kenya, and it was poverty related, and so they sent a missions guy and me on this trip to find the right partner. And it was kind of funny because we had all these meetings set up with these people we kind of thought we knew who it was going to be. But everywhere we went, we would meet these mission partners that would, and just I can be very frank, like they were doing really good holistic things and feeding and that kind of thing, but there wasn't enough it just wasn't enough Jesus. And then some other people that were like doing the Jesus, they weren't like taking care of the whole person. And it was like, shoot, we're gonna have to go. I didn't know what to tell people when we came back to our church. And literally it was like we had 2 days left, and someone from our church said, there's those people in Nairobi you should talk to before you come back, maybe Mary and Wallace Kamau. It was literally a last minute thing. We stopped by and we visited and we saw what those videos so beautifully portrayed. It just like a gut punch of the most abject poverty we'd ever seen. Yeah. And then this bright light of Mary and her husband and a few of their friends that had already 200 children in this school, and the difference between the kids in the slums who are just kind of aimless and gaunt. Their eyes look empty, and just like it was scary. You knew their future's horrible. And then to see the difference between the kids in the school, not just because they had a sweater on and were going to school and some food, but they were different, like not exaggerating, like you could see it, like hope in their eyes. Like this kid has a future. Yeah. And so we were so taken with it. And we were just like, gosh, how can we get on board with that? Yeah. And so that's when we said to Mary, we're getting ready to leave. We're like, we're gonna go back and we're gonna support you. We thought we'd come back, like put them in our missions budget or whatever, And she says, well, before you go, can I show you something? I'm like, of course. So she had this like little tiny ramshackle office in the corner of they had like one building. It was really not much at all. But she pulls out this book. I think it was almost like a cartoon, like a big book, like from Santa Claus or something, and then opened it, and it was just filled with writing as we leaned in. It was names. It was page after page of names. And we said, what is that? And she said, this is our waiting list. You talk about just wrecking you, It's like, oh, your heart sank. These are the families that are like stopping every day going, we've seen what's happening, and they want something for their child, but they can't provide it, and they want some help, and they're like, well, you're doing it. Can we, And she's like, so I'm like, well, if we went back and got some help from our church, how many of those kids do you think you could take care of? There were, I think, 1,200 names or so on the waiting list.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Mm-hmm. There's about 800,000 people in that slum area, in like almost 1 square mile, just to get your head wrapped around this. And how many could you take care of? And she says, flips it back on me like right away, like, okay, big boy, that's not the question. I'm paraphrasing. How many could you guys help us with? And so I'm like, I don't know. So we get on a plane, we go back, and we tell everything like this to our mountain people and just say, we've got to help. And God just started opening these doors, and we kind of were able to come up with this fresh way to do child sponsorship that would help get the money to the right kids in the right way. And we had a sponsorship day just like you're having today. And we were able to sponsor 700 kids right out the gate. Oh. And then So then they're just like, no problem. We thought, is that gonna overwhelm them? No, 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 no. They just were like, we got it, what else you got? And so we just started talking to our friends, other pastors and churches just like yours all over the country. And other people were like, when you hear, everyone wants to make a difference and change the world, but you don't know who to trust or how to do it. Yeah. And then you see this story and everyone got on board. And so now, like a lot of my friends who are pastors in some large churches and all this stuff, those 200 kids have today become over 32,000 children in 32 different, or is it 30,000? What is it? 30,000 in 32 different centers all over. And it's like, I thought 200 was amazing, and it was. It's a crazy, and the dreams are for 100,000. And so, yeah, get on board. Let's go change the world.
That's incredible. The part that gets me about that was that there was no hesitation of, well, can we handle now 700 that are coming?
Yeah,
right?
She was like, no, the question was never. Their faith in God is so big and their hearts are so pure, but their leadership capacity too. It's like, I thought it would overwhelm when we kept growing, but they have just got such sharp leadership acumen, and they keep adapting and changing the organization. And all the way through it, it's the same focus on Jesus and a child. Jesus and a child. It's never changed from the beginning till now. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
That's incredible, walking through that many years and then seeing that. So our series we've been going through, we've talked about local discipleship, like what is our community of people that we can reach. We've done some evangelistic training talking about how to talk to people about Jesus, and you guys will notice at the next steps area we have a little outreach slide. We've got one in our pre and post service slideshow. Check that out. We've got some amazing outreach opportunities for you locally, and so that is something we've been emphasizing is local missions. How would you speak into the call to global missions also being as significant?
Yeah, well, it's like the piece of the same cloth, in Jesus' mind. I think it's a natural outgrowth of a church like yours that is so outward focused and concerned for your community, and you should be. I mean, someone might rightly object, like, well, I know there's lots of poverty and kids are dying on the other side of the world, but we've got so many real needs right in our own backyard. We got to take care of that. And the answer is exactly right. You should, which is what's so awesome and I love about Daily Church so much is that you guys are. You're here and you're caring for the kids and the people in your neighborhoods and in Detroit, and you should. But, this is a global faith that we signed up for. Jesus, God so loved Detroit, but God so loved the world. He loved the whole world. Yeah. And so, to say, well, we're going to focus on Jerusalem, but not Judea, Samaria, the ends of the earth, kind of forgets the whole thing we got called into. So I think it's very natural. And when Jesus saw the crowds, it says in Matthew, I think the disciples kind of saw like, whoa, there's a lot of people. What can we do? But Jesus had compassion, and he saw them like people or sheep without a shepherd. And I think letting ourselves get past the callousness that kind of comes as Americans. We just see so many commercials and so many scams and so many people trying to get our money for whatever. Just to realize, wait a second, if we knew who to trust, we could be a part of something very, very special. And that's what I love about this is we've been there and seen it. And so global, local, it's all part of the same thing.
Having been partnered with Missions of Hope since 2006, you've gotten to see this incredible growth and impact happen and even getting other partners involved. Do you have some, maybe not success stories, but what are some of the impactful things you've seen at Mountain Christian because of this heart for missions? What has been the result in us because of this partnership?
Yeah, well, I think it's changed our church a lot. We've always been kind of really concerned for missions, but because so many people in our church have a picture on their fridge of some little person that they're praying for, and because so many now over the years, we take trips every year to Kenya. I've been there many times. We got several people in our church who have been there multiple times. And it changes it from a mission over there to something that we know is real, and I think that part is important. It's made us more generous. It's made us less afraid that if, some money goes there, then maybe we won't have enough for us. It's like God just uses this kind of thing to prime the pump of generosity, and there always seems to be more. It's like the loaves and fishes, like, where'd that come from? I don't know, but it's good. Jesus will keep doing it. Yeah. So I think it's changed us in a lot of ways and just expanded our hearts and our faith, like, everyone likes to be part of a winning team. I don't know if I've been in ministry a long time. I don't know that I've ever been part of something that I'm more proud to be like hitch my wagon to. It's like, yeah, we're part of this thing that's this global. It sounds great to talk about all the numbers and all that, but at the end of the day, it's because every new person that comes in has the same exact experience. That video you showed is exactly what happened to us in 2006 and 2007 and 8 and 9, and every new person that's come. They come and they're blown away by what God does when you just love children. The other thing is, we all want to love our kids. Yeah. It's made us love our own kids more, I think, because we see what a difference it makes there. But like, you want to give your kid like that cocoon. Yeah. That, you know, you got a slimy little worm or whatever, but you put it in a cocoon, and that nurturing environment where you say, I believe in you, I see you, and I'm going to help you grow up and be okay in this world. And everyone needs that. We so badly want that for our kids. And we can give it in many ways here. But the kids there just need a little help to get that cocoon. And I think that's how it's changed us, is to think, like, to soften and to realize that I'm at all the need. We say, it's so easy to say, I can't change the world. I can't end poverty. But the fact is, you can change poverty for one kid.
Yes.
And when you do, it changes it, as Steve said, for the family and that region. You've created that little cocoon where they're going to transform into something they would never be without that help. Yeah. They turn into this, and they're flying around. And now I've been at it long enough, Rachel, but I've seen these kids. We sponsored, now they're like school teachers and doctors and serving in the mission themselves. Yeah. And it's like, and they will tell you, you have no idea how many times the only thing keeping me going was my sponsor. I knew they loved me, and they told me they prayed for me. And I go to their little shanty with cardboard walls, and there on the wall is a letter from a sponsor in the States, Mrs. Smith in Pennsylvania, or Bob and wherever. Yep. And they're saying that. So it does make a difference. It just does. So now I'm rambling.
Thank you so much for being here, Ben. I appreciate you. Can we thank him?
Thank you, guys. Keep up the good work.
Super cool. He just happened to be in the area preaching at the Michigan Christian Convention over the weekend, and Sunday was available, and he was just going to come here and hang out with us. And I was like, actually, we're doing a Missions of Hope Day. Would you like to come and talk a little bit about it? So it was just a total God thing that he was here. And Debbie, will you just wave? We've got Debbie from Missions of Hope International here too. Grateful for both of you. We have such passionate people able to articulate the value of child sponsorship here. So we've got one more video from our mission trip team. I hope you check this out. It's so good.
The child that I sponsor, her name is Stancy, like Nancy with an S. I got a chance to hug her, to see her.
I got to meet, we have a little girl and we have a boy. I got to meet them.
I help with the youth group, and we actually happen to sponsor a student. His name's Victor. We've been sponsoring him from quite some time, and I actually got to meet him, which was super cool. We brought pictures of the students, and he could recognize them. Like, he knew them by name because we, happened to send like a little a little basket with stuff of our students.
Charity, she went to high school this year. I've been sponsoring her for a couple years or so, and to meet her was just awesome.
My two students, both of their names are Kennedy. One of them is elementary and one of them is a high school student. And I picked them because they had the same name as me. But just meeting them for the first time and giving them gifts and finding out a little bit more about their family, just to make that personal connection with them, it makes all the difference in the world.
If you do feel inclined to sponsor a student, I just want you to know, if you are making that decision, that the money is going towards something great. Especially talking to the social workers there and seeing that they take their time. They might go an hour out of their way to go see a student just because they know this is the kid that's in the most need. These are the ones that need help getting out of this just constant poverty cycle. So if it is something, obviously it's amazing, but it's great.
They're very, very good about communication. I get a letter from my girl often. I'm able to I get text her and say what's going on, and here's what's going on with me. Mohi allows you an opportunity to do things like send gifts. At Christmas time, we were able to send a basket of food to the family.
if you could sponsor a child, you are going to make a huge impact on that person, because they get food every single day when they're at Mohi schools. And you're changing their entire life, but you are changing your life if you go to Kenya, because you are getting out of the American church downriver, our subdivisions, and you are going to another country that is out of your comfort zone. And it really, really shows the power of the Lord.
My biggest point in being there when I was there in October was when we had our Sunday school with all of the students, and I was at the middle school, and a couple of our people who were on our trip also went to the high school, and it's so hard to describe because it was so amazing, but it was the entire school congregation out in their field, wrapped around their flagpole, and they were singing worship songs. And they were saying their Pledge of Allegiance, and they were reading from the Bible. They were having this experience that they wouldn't ever be able to have if there weren't sponsors. And the impact that we have as a church and that you can have individually was just so evident in that moment, because not only did I know that those students that I was seeing in front of me were having that, but a whole other school, a whole other high school of 800 plus students were also getting that experience and being able to be poured into because of sponsors and because of what our church is doing.
Sponsor a child. You know the money going in the right spot.
It's a little thing, but it reaches so far.
I'll do it. Do it. Don't even hesitate. God provides the money. When I first started sponsoring charity, it was $40. Okay, as a widow, I can do that. But then she went to high school and it became $70. And I'm like, wow, Lord, okay. And I did that, and it was accomplished, you know? So there is a way. Even if you think you have nothing, you can sponsor a child.
Do it. Do it. There is nothing like partnering with one of those students there. They will pour out love to you more than you ever would expect. I sponsor a student. I also help our youth group sponsor a student. And the love in which those students pour out, because they are just so thankful, is so meaningful. And I know we don't do it so that we can get love back, but the ability for us to love like God does and then see it come back to us even bigger is so amazing.
In Matthew 25, Jesus said, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me." And then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." One of the least of these is named Timothy. You probably can't see him, but he's on my phone. Timothy is the Missions of Hope International child that our family sponsors. And Mohi has this awesome app. I just learned this yesterday. I know it's 2024, it's shocking. But they have this awesome app where it has the children that you sponsor on it. And so I've got all of Timothy's information on here. And I've been writing him letters, and he writes us letters, but now we can correspond through the app and tell him what's going on. But he writes us about wanting to be a teacher. And he tells us about, he's in the boarding school. So he lives at Devoyne, and he tells us about what's happening to him and how he's progressing in his education and how he's being taken care of every day through our sponsorship. And it's one thing to just give money to organizations. It's another thing to have an actual partner, a child that you are helping to sponsor their education and to help them. He's one of the least of these, and now that I can write him on here, I'm going to write him on here. But what I want to do, just real quick, is I want to take a selfie with you guys, because I'm going to send this to him and let him know. So if you could wave or smile, be grumpy, like, you know, maybe that's just your thing. But I'm going to send this to him and let him know what we did today. But Timothy, he's one of the least of these. I've got another one who's the least of these right here. This is Marianne. Marianne's part of the day school. It's got information on here about what she wants to be when she grows up and the different things that she wants to do. And she can be part of your family, part of your sponsorship. We've got 200 children here that you can sponsor, that you can make a difference in their lives, that you can change their world. And we want to encourage you to do that. We want to encourage you to sponsor these kids. Let me give you some practical things about how this works. So all the cards are out there in the lobby. You'll see it has two halves. The bottom half stays here. The top half you take, put on your fridge, so you have all the information you need, and you can download the app and put their information in, and it'll connect you in the app. But the bottom part's where you put all the information about being a sponsor, so you want to leave that half here. We'll have mission team members. Debbie will be out there, Rachel, myself, other people will be out there helping you if you have questions. We've got the kids divided up. We've got the boys' day school, the sponsorship is $40 a month. The girls' day school, the sponsorship is $40 a month. And then there's the boys' boarding school, and that's $70 a month is that sponsorship. And keep in mind, that is more because those boys live there. That's where they live. And every kid out there is part of Devoyne, which is the school that we have partnered with, that you saw on the video and you saw folks talk about. Every one of them is part of that school. You can walk out there and just grab the first kid you see, or the first 10 kids you see. You can do that. Or pray over it and ask God to show you. If you've got kids in the next gen area, we want to encourage you to get your kids and come out here with them out to the lobby. Pray over the kids. Make it a family decision of which kids you choose or which kids you choose. But all of them are part of our partner school. We also have a QR code. It's up here on the screen. If you're watching online, the QR code will be at the bottom part of your screen. So if you're not here and you can't do the card, you can scan that QR code, and that will help. That will go to a group of children that are part of Devoyne that you can select and sponsor and put all your information in that way. So if you're watching online, that's the best way to do that. If you're here, the best way to do it is to go out there and take a card or 3 or 4 and sponsor those kids and get a connection with them like we have with Timothy, like somebody here can have with Marianne. This series, Upside Down, has been all about going out into the world and turning it upside down with the message of the gospel. And that's what we want to encourage you to do. In whatever way God shows you to do that, we want you to turn the world upside down. I know that's like such a tall task to turn the world upside down, and you're probably thinking, I can't turn the world upside down. No, but you can turn Marianne's world upside down. You can turn one of the other boys and girls out there in the lobby, you can turn their world upside down. You might have to sacrifice a little bit. You might not be able to go to Starbucks every day. But we want to encourage you, if you're sitting here and you feel like you just can't do it, it doesn't work for you financially, you just can't handle it, we want to encourage everybody to go out there and pray over these kids. Maybe write some of their names down, take it home, and keep remembering to pray for them. But go out there and pray that their world would be turned upside down. And if God leads you, be the one to turn their world upside down. Again, if you're online, just scan the QR code and you can pick a child that way and do your sponsorship there. I'm going to pray. We're going to ask you to go out into the lobby, take a look at the kids that are out there, make that decision to change their world and turn it upside down with the message of Jesus by helping them financially. Jesus, we thank you for this day. We thank you for Missions of Hope International. We thank you for all of these children that you died on the cross for. All of these children that you rose again from the dead for. All of these children that you love. May we show them our love the best way that we can. Speak to our hearts so that we can change the world turn the world upside down for a boy or a girl today. And if you decide to go on our trip in October, you can see the kid that you sponsor. Keep that in mind. We're going to play some music. You can feel free to go on out the back doors there and do some sponsorship. Have a great day.